In this episode of the Brawn Body Podcast, I'm joined by Sal Di Stefano of Mind Pump, where we're going to be discussing the Mind Pump journey. So if you haven't heard of Mind Pump before, it's the number one health, fitness, and entertainment podcast, period. Hands down. It's top charts. They give great advice. Sal, along with his co-hosts Adam and Justin, are extremely entertaining. I highly recommend you check it out if you haven't already. These three kind of served as part of the inspiration for myself to start my own podcast and give the advice and share the knowledge and experience I've had with all of you. So this is an awesome episode. I'm really thankful for Sal's time and all the insight and experience that he's able to bring and all the advice he's able to offer anyone looking to kind of start their own business, start their journey in the health and fitness career, the health and fitness space. Very thankful for it. Before we get to the show, here's a quick word from our sponsor. You're about to listen to another episode of the Brawn Body Podcast. I'm your host, Dan Brawn. I founded Brawn Body Training Holistics in 2019, and we started the Brawn Body Podcast in March of 2020. Since then, we've released over 100 podcast episodes about various topics relating to training, nutrition, lifestyle, mental health, and so much more. We've been fortunate enough to have amazing guests on the show who range from doctors in physical therapy, chiropractics, nutrition experts, strength and conditioning specialists, and so much more. This podcast is your new one-stop shop for motivational content, health and fitness content, training advice, insight, and wisdom that you can get nowhere else. Welcome to the Brawn Body Podcast. Thank you for joining us. Enjoy the show. Sal, welcome to the show. Super excited to have you today.
Oh yeah, thanks for having me on, man. I appreciate it.
So, kind of looking at your podcast, Mind Pump, how did you and Justin and Adam and Doug, how did you guys get started with that all those years ago?
Yeah, so it's been a while now, almost 7 years, and it started out because I had created a workout program, and Doug, who now is our producer, had put it together in this online format. Mm-hmm. And Adam is somebody that I had known of for a while. Him and I had come up in the same gyms locally, and we had friends that were mutual, and they would tell me I need to meet this guy and vice versa. And I remembered that, and him and I had been through communication on social media for other reasons. And I thought, well, this would be a great person to ask their opinion. So I said, hey, if I sent you over my online fitness course, would you be able to give me your opinion? And he says, yeah, absolutely. So I sent it over to him. He loved it. We get on the phone and we had a conversation that was, 45 minutes. And we decided we all need to get together and meet because there might be something here. And we did. So we all got together, me, Adam, Justin, Doug wasn't there at the time, but we sat down and it was instant chemistry, and we all had similar ideas and beliefs in terms of what we would want to do if we started something in new media. And we thought podcasting was perfect because it had a low barrier to enter, which was good. Mm-hmm. It also, we didn't have to, say certain things or fear speaking, certain opinions because, of corporate sponsors or anything like that. We could totally be honest, say what we want on the podcast, which we really wanted. We really wanted to be totally honest. We knew a lot of the information that we would present would be counter what you see in mainstream fitness entertainment and fitness media. But podcasting was a great place because no one's going to, kick us off. It's our show. And we also like the fact that it was long form. Podcasts are typically an hour or two long. And, being trainers, we were all trainers for a couple decades before we started the podcast. We knew that communicating weight loss and fitness and health, it was very ineffective in short form. It was a discussion. We knew this from training clients, and podcasting just seemed like the best medium. And so that's how it started. So we started the podcast shortly after that, and it resonated, and really was just, three trainers communicating fitness in the most effective way that we learned through training clients for 2 decades, very inexperienced at media. But it worked, and it worked out, and it took off. And since then we've done, 1,500 episodes or plus, and we're better at the media part than we were when we first started, but we're still the same trainers.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I know your big slogan there is raw fitness truth. And I think that really shows through, as you said. Now, when you first started this, was there any kind of moment in there where you were like, shit, what are we doing right now? Like, this is kind of a big jump, big leap, big change? Or were you kind of very well set, like, this is 100%, we need to do this right now, this is going to be successful?
It's interesting. I've done a lot of businesses. I've been an entrepreneur since I was 20. I think I started my first business when I was 21. And I'm always confident when I start a business. I think you have to be. I think you're setting yourself up for failure if you're not confident. So be very confident, but be prepared for, if things go sideways. But I'll tell you what, when we first started the podcast, it felt different than anything I'd ever done before. In fact, I actually got nervous because I felt like this is going to really do well. It's going to take off. And it made me a little bit nervous and excited at the same time. Now, did we know what we were doing right away? No. I mean, none of us had any media experience whatsoever. We were very experienced trainers. We understood how to communicate fitness very well. Could we practice that for a long time? But we had no idea about social media and podcasting and what that looks like, and even who's in the space aside from the big names like Joe Rogan. So we just went for it, and it worked. And we continue to learn as we grow.
Right, for sure. Now, for other people who are kind of in similar spots to where you were starting out, someone who's just kind of new to either entrepreneurship or fitness or podcasting, whatever it might be, someone who kind of has this idea, someone who's like, yeah, I know the direction I want to go, but I don't know what next step to take. What advice would you give to someone like that, who's just kind of in that early preliminary phase like you guys were when you started?
Yeah, take action. One of the biggest mistakes that I see entrepreneurs make is they paralysis by analysis.
Yep.
They try to figure out every possible scenario and try to make it perfect before they do anything. That's a failing strategy, because it's impossible to predict the market. It's impossible to predict the future. The only way to know is to test your idea. So that now you don't have to test it in a big way, right? You can do it in a very small way, so you're not risking a lot of capital. But test your ideas, take action. You'll probably fail initially, but you'll learn what worked and what didn't work. And through that process, entrepreneurship it's a lot like jumping out of a plane and figuring out how to make a parachute on the way down. It's just the way it works. And if you talk to most successful entrepreneurs, they'll tell you the same thing. Take action, test your ideas, and then go from there.
For sure. And I like how you pointed that out. It's calculated risks, right? You don't want to test the depth of a river by jumping in with both feet. You want to go one step at a time. And kind of going along with that, has there been any times that you can recall in your own history with Mind Pump where you guys kind of jumped a little too far? Has there been any times where you did something and you're like, you know what, maybe that wasn't such a good idea, but you learned from it and grew from it?
Yeah, I mean, we did this one event where we wanted to host this podcasting event, and we rented this big house and we paid a lot of money for it, and it was a very expensive thing, and it was a lot of fun. We had other podcasters there, but it didn't give us nowhere near the return that we had invested. So that was, a mistake, but a learning lesson. We won't do it again, right? Or if we do, we'll do it differently. Luckily, my partners and I we started this already being experienced and a little older. So I think there's lots of things that we tested that didn't work, but I think that we start small. Mm-hmm. We test things. I'll give you an example. Let's say you want to start a YouTube channel and you want to make, a series of videos that entertains kids or something like that. Don't make 15 videos and pay an editor and spend lots of money on making all 15 of them and then putting them on YouTube. Why not just make one, save some money, don't spend tons of money, put it on and test it and see how well it does. see what went well and what didn't work so well, so that the next iteration could be a little bit better. Market's always changing. Things are always changing. You don't know what you don't know. So you have to take action, and you can definitely take calculated risks, but take action. You'll learn from that and you'll grow from that.
Exactly. And I hear you keep saying take action, and I like that a lot, because anymore there's not an excuse, right? You can go online and learn any kind of skill. If you don't know marketing, you don't have to go out and spend money to hire someone who knows marketing. You can literally learn marketing skills online through podcasts, through free courses, through different things that, didn't exist 15, 20 years ago. So it kind of kills me to see these people who are just starting out and making all these excuses and don't get that momentum going, when it has never been easier to get started with anything, whether that's your entrepreneurship journey, a career, anything in the health and fitness industry, just getting started with workouts. I don't think there's ever been a easier time than right now to get going and get learning.
Yeah, you're going to suck at first. Just accept that. I mean, you could watch all the golf videos and read all the golf books you want, but nothing's going to teach you faster than going out and practicing, playing the game and sucking. You're going to suck. Of course you are. Yep. That's all right. You're going to get better. So it's very, look, I get the fear, right? Nobody wants to do something, put themselves out there and then fail, but accept that that's going to happen. It's extremely rare for people to do their first attempt and just hit it out of the park. It almost never happens that way. So you have to be okay. Like, you're going to suck. So what? You just go out and you do it. That's why I say take action, because you can't learn what works without failing a little bit first. It's just impossible. So you can read all you want, listen to all the podcasts you want. I think that's valuable, but it's not going to replace putting yourself out there. It's just not.
Right. Do something. My last question kind of for you on this kind of mindset, motivation kind of talk here is, how did you go about doing this when, you, Adam, both had kind of like a family life to balance as well? So it wasn't just kind of you on your own flying solo through this. You had, girlfriend or wife or kids or something like that in the picture as well.
Yeah. If you're young and you don't have a family to support, you're almost invincible. So I'm just going to be quite honest, right? So if you're young and you're watching this and you have an idea or a dream, like, go for it. Like, what's the worst that could happen? You lose, you fail, big deal. You only have yourself to support. You should feel confident in the fact that you could pick yourself up if you need to, get a job, get back on your feet. No big deal, right? Way more challenging when people are depending on you. And that was the position that we were all in when we started the business. So we just had to be a little bit more calculated, and we risked what we were okay and willing to lose. I think that's important. But we started out kind of small, put a little bit of money in, kept our day jobs, but devoted some time and energy into, trying to do a good job with the podcast. And for about a year, we grew the podcast without making a single dollar off of it. We didn't monetize for a full year. We wanted to grow before we ever thought about turning it into a business that made any money. But yeah, I mean, same thing. You got to take action, test your ideas in a small way, risk what you're willing to lose, be okay with that, and then take it from there.
Awesome. Great advice from someone who, in your case, you've been in the business for quite some time, got a lot of knowledge, a lot of expertise. Thank you so much for your time and for sharing that with our listeners, Sal. Appreciate it.
No problem. Thanks for having me on.